No, I'm just saying, and I think that Ballroom was a place for us to go with. And I also think that, and I really think that the balance is, and I think the balance comes from me, from just being a personal observer. I think the kids today, even though that they have these perfect outside shells, they are lost on the inside. Because if you go to a ball and someone judges you and tell you, if you wake up this morning, well, I'm beautiful, I got faith. And then you go to the ball and you lose, you want to fight. Why do you want to fight?
Because
you still have faith. You want to play
because you don't really believe that you have faith. It's an insecurity.
Self-esteem is lost on this generation now. I just think these people, they don't believe half the things. Yeah,
that goes back to your home front. That goes back to your foundation. If you didn't necessarily grow up with being nurtured or being told I love you or being motivated just in general, then you'll present that when you get out into the world. Unfortunately, some people don't know how to.
You said that, but look, but kids in the 80s had the same thing, no motivation, no direction. Some of them had to sleep in a pier because they could not be gay at home.
Right.
So you don't have when you got to be part of a house.
Your mother took care of you.
You got all of that.
It's not necessarily that way anymore.
Well, no,
here's the thing, right, and that's the truth of it.
Yeah, it's not that way anymore.
It's really not set up that way.
Well, that's what a house means.
It's like you join a house and it's all for yourself until we get to the ball.
So,
if we're being honest.
And not to deviate too much from the question, but that is one of the main reasons why I left.
okay, well, let me
So, one thing that I will say is because when you lose the family aspect, I'm thinking about legacies of people who were there before this generation and how it was family, like we really took it. I don't care if he was on the stroll, I don't care if he just came out of the peep show in Midtown, I don't care if he was in the hotel on, Chelsea or wherever he was at. The people knew where you was at. They were like, you see such and such, oh yeah, they over here and such and such. They knew where you was at. And we didn't have FaceTime. We didn't have these things, but as a community, we were able to still divide until the Giuliani administration came in and pushed us out. So when we talk about the challenges, right, once they removed all of us from our safe spaces because it was dangerous to others, but it was where we thrived. Right, we know Midtown, we know Rosie, we know Hollywood, we know Jessica, we know the girls, we know the girls, but then we as a youth coming up under the some of these kids are super intelligent.
Yeah.
If you talk to them, but they just miss the guidance, that connected to what they need to be.
But what I can do is record on my Zoom.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna set that up. So at least I can share that with you. You'll have something.
I'll get out of here. I don't care about none of that shit because that's how they talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? So
right, that's why I said it starts at home.
Meet them where they at, so that they are children.
We're recording.
That's what happened. As we are elders, I think one of the challenges is that. And that's something we're going to talk about. There's a loss of trust in the elders when they come to the youth, and it's because how they conflate the word elder.
Sometimes it could be real one-sided with people of a certain age. It could be very one-sided. It could be you want us to be respectful, you want us to be this, but I don't always, not all, but some don't. They don't give it to us. So for my generation, I know a lot of us have this like, if you're not about to do it for me, why am I doing it for you? I get that this is a respect thing, but if it's a respect thing, you should be able to give it to me too. I'm an adult. And some people of a certain age forget that you were once my age too, and you wanted to be respected and just be accepted. So why is it so hard to do that for me?
But I don't think that anybody should talk down to anybody. And especially if you're in a space where you're trying to give a lesson, it's not a talk down kind of thing. I guess it's tone and the way that you deliver what you're trying to say. And I think you're not responsible for somebody interpreting what you say. That's on them. But I think that you talk them in a place, and if they feel secure enough to know that you come from a place of concern and care, I think that it'll be received differently.
True.
So I think that's just what it is.
I also think it depends on the situation too.
Yeah.
Because I've heard some people, elders say, "Oh, I'm not dealing with them." They be into that riffraff, and it's like, what's the riffraff? You did riffraff too when you were my age. So what's the difference? Like, it's like, what's the difference? And the riffraff may be different. I may do it a little better, but we still did the same. We still doing the same type of thing. It's just the times have changed.
Let's keep the conversation together.
So, I haven't seen anything new in Ballroom that I didn't see during the pioneer era.
Right.
There are different fashion tastes, but there's nothing new. Mothers back in the day, because there were so few of them, they took their role as mother seriously. They took people in off the street and actually raised them. Education was important, very important to the mothers and the fathers. So it's different now. It's almost as if what you call elders, and you can't equate an elder and a pioneer, they're totally different. So don't use those terms interchangeably.
Right.
Because a pioneer knows the value of education, knows the value of not having their children, knows not to try to get someone on drugs just to have them. We're not going to do that because we were taught better as pioneers.
Have sex with your children, that it doesn't work, but that generation is bad.
So
One more thing. We didn't have dues back then. We didn't pay dues to be in a house. But if Stanley needed something and I had it,
right.
Or if Stanley and Donald were friends and in different houses, and Stanley needed something and called Donald, Donald would be like, "Come on, girl, come get it."
Right.
They don't do that.
They don't do that now, no.
The seriousness of a trophy and status and that movie Pose has destroyed Ballroom. That's my opinion.
This question here. So how do you envision the role of intergenerational mentorship? Because your question, you were saying that from your point of view, from you being a young generation, and you've heard elders say that they didn't want to be a part of. So what is it as an elder? What would you want from me?
Yeah, what would you want from us?
Oh, wait, no. That's a loaded question.
That is a loaded
So wait, but that's a loaded question, right? No, I want him to answer it, but I also want him to yield it back to you and say, what could you offer?
Everything.
No. I need for him to tell me what he needs.
Yeah, what he first. Let me tell you.
But can I say something before you answer that question? I think when we look at this question too, and I love this question, I think when we look at this question, it's interchangeable, right?
Yeah,
so, right, what do you need from us, and vice versa.
Right. Well, Jonathan said it's right, but I need to hear from him first.
What would you like from us?
Because
I think
I
that's the
know
way
what
I
I have to
understand
offer,
it.
but I don't know what do you need? Because something I might have to offer, he might not need. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
And
that might be where the disconnect comes in.
Right.
Because
And
maybe you might be offering something you like, I don't need that. I need that.
And the goal, remember, to keep in mind that the goal here is mentorship.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. But how does that, for him, I just want to know from that side, how does that look to you?
I think for
This
me, it
is
would
one
be
you know.
understand.
This is one you.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah. For me,
Absolutely.
I'm speaking for me. I can't speak for everybody, but I think it would be understanding. Most of all, it would be you embracing what I'm saying and not judging me based off what I'm saying and actually receiving it and listening to what I'm saying as a human. And that's pretty much all I would probably really need is to
But that's not
feel
empathy.
comfortable.
You don't want empathy.
Yeah, I would love empathy and even sympathy if you can give that to me, not looking for it to be pitied, but who doesn't want to be sympathized with or to
So
be
that
related
gives
to.
me the impression that you're not getting that now.
Most
From the
likely, yeah,
elders?
most likely, no.
That's a good question.
No.
So, and
That's a
that's
good point.
key, right? Because
Wait,
more often
because
than
it was
not,
something that you,
forget-
it was something, sorry to cut you off, it was something that you said when you said like, when y'all had mothers, that education was the forefront, and when y'all had, now in houses, education is there, but it's all the way down here. It's you being like this, you looking like this, you being at the ball, you being at the ball when you're supposed to, and you making sure you bring in a trophy. And then it's your personal life, and then it's school. So, and this is not every house, but that's how it is now. So for a lot of us, it is a disconnect to feel like, could I come to you? Because you're only coming to me about a ball. You're only, or sex, or drugs.
So-
You're only
So,
hitting me
because
up.
that's the question, because the question says involve wrong.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm saying. So you're looking for someone to mention you, or you looking for somebody to mention them all around, or just in a ballroom setting? Because I think we have to.
I think for us now, I would
say
say now, because even as a like outside of ball, when I leave the ball, I'm human. I may need that advice, even something that you told me like that helped me with my voguing may probably help me at work, or could help me get a job. Or
while they're teaching.
right, I don't want exactly. Which is why I said respect me as a
that
human.
works both ways too, because in this community, the gay community, there's something that Tabitha has said earlier.
That is true.
And about sex in this community. This community, for me, as a person growing up in it, this is one of the first communities that I've seen people of different ages be in relationships.
Right.
And it wasn't taboo. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I had a lot of my elder girlfriends have young lovers.
So
And it
here's the
wasn't taboo.
thing.
That's right.
So that gets into a whole dialogue of rape culture that
That's
was socially accepted within the community,
Within ballroom.
right?
That's right.
Because and it's not just ballroom,
Oh, yeah, just in the
but what I'm
US in
saying is
general.
at that time,
US in general.
you were the thing if you had you a little young something on the side of you. And for those of us who were sex workers, we knew the younger you are, the more money you made. So we continue to grow up in this environment where we try to protect and preserve our youth. Right? So it's great to age. Let's say that. Because with that, I realized as I get older, the things that I felt that were so important as a youth are so not significant today. But to go back to what Karan was saying, like that empathy, to be able to understand that you were once them, they were never you. So when you come to them, it's how you deal with them, remembering how you were. Because I'm stern, and my kids do not deviate from that. We don't smoke together, we don't drink together, we don't do none of that. Because when I tell you what I need you to do, I need you to do what I tell you to do, and I don't need lip service. I know it's traditional. I struggle with that with my sister, and I know that these are adults and they're not kids. But there's something that was missing. The same thing that was missing from us when we went to Ballroom and we found our mothers, right? So looking at that mentorship, these kids gravitate to where they know they're gonna feel safe. And that's why, like I said, like the woman like Courtney, when we're talking about the mothers, like how Temperance in them, even though I'm an older woman, but I see our sisterhood and how you going to school, you doing this, we checking in. I just started school, they called me to make sure that I was, to make sure I was
there.
okay, right? And if I needed anything. And that meant a lot to me. They didn't know that. But just that empathy and that support from one another can foster respect. Does that make sense?
So, Tabitha, when I turned 40, I never wanted to be old man Steve.
What's
Remember
that?
Old man Steve?
Yeah.
That would lurk in the club and pick up the young boys and give them drugs and take them home. So I stopped going to clubs.
Right.
I would go to a pride party every now and then. But if I'm 40 and everybody in the club is under 25, they're going to think I'm trying to spend on them, and I'm cheap. I'm not spending money on nobody. myself.
So, Tim,
Yeah.
so we here, you wanna know about how you can help us with outside resources and outside help?
Yeah.
How do you, go about that? So you ask us what we need,
Right.
like what are
I
the
think-
social determinants of what a person needs?
Yeah.
And that way we can work on that.
Definitely.
I think for me being an older person, I think the most important thing.
Y'all being recorded too, man.
It's fine. I think the most important thing is medical.
Okay.
Me being a public health advisor in my position at my job, a lot of African American and Hispanic males, and that's basically what our community is, don't go to the doctor after trial.
Men in general.
Yeah,
Men in
okay.
general.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so I'm just saying, I just think for that, I think because if you have your health, then you could take care of everything else. I think you have your health and then you would.
Everything else falls into place.
So I
Right.
think things like that, if you could use your resources to help people maintain their health, continuity of care,
Yeah.
and also get housing, I
Mhm.
think that would be an important resource and asset.
Something to think about. Yeah.
So,
I-
I'm sorry, Tim. So I decided to go back to school just for that.
Congratulations.
Because somebody needs to teach the people from other cities that New York City is the new San Francisco. Any service that you need, you can get in this city. You can come off the streets homeless with no clothes
Mhm.
and 6 months later be in an apartment if you're guided.
Right.
Mhm.
And see, and I think that's another thing when we talk about services and what type of services could we provide to our seasoned siblings, right? I like the word seasons. I too don't like the word elders. To our seasoned siblings, like what type of services? I know that for some of us, like once we get to a certain age, housing instability is not one of the things. Like by then, we better have a roof, or we would try to have a roof over our head, or some type of connection to care.
Sometimes
Right,
they
but
don't, though.
sometimes
Tabitha.
there aren't.
That's not the
Like,
reality.
in the South population, there are a lot of queer elders who are there who don't have those same services.
Right.
So like when you work in a public health and you understand like there's this like divide, like a sage center
Mhm.
to speak, right? That even now in this time there are queer elders who are not getting access to sage centers.
Yeah.
Right? And why is that? Right.
Mhm.
So that's something that I will talk to you about. We need to like try
Well, we need to have that conversation here.
Right.
That's why
No,
we're here.
but they're not, but I'm talking about like there are queer people who are in shelters currently who don't like there's this whole cycle to get into the Sage House.
Okay.
Right. And my thing is
I didn't even know they had a Sage House.
Yeah, there's one in the Bronx too. It's for like
Because we tried to get them to come here.
Right.
No, he tried to get them to come here.
I'll give you the email. But one thing that I've noticed is that we're not there.
But Tim and Tabitha, a lot of times when we try to advise the younger generation, y'all old children, y'all know what y'all talking about.
But that goes back to that question that y'all was on
I think
before.
that depends on the person. If you want the knowledge, then
Yeah, I mean, I
you'll
think,
receive it.
like I said, because these kids really, in this digital era, they learn a lot more faster than we did. They're exposed to a lot more things that we did. I learned social media from my kids.
It doesn't teach us communication.
So it doesn't, right. So the communication skills that we learned, because we didn't have all that, we kind of talked back then, they don't have that. So communicating an emotion and how they really feel or what they want can sometimes be the barrier. So that's when the empathy comes in that. Because I have 5 kids who I raised.
And it's
And
funny
since
that
they
you
were
say
thrown
that.
out, and they've heard the stigma about messing with the older people or having the older people around you. Vehemently, they know that. Some of them firsthand, right? So coming to me as their mom, they were really running and they were desperate, right? To get that, because you got to want it, right? And not everybody is desperate. It doesn't always have to be a 311 alarm. Sometimes they just need you to say, how was school today? What are your interests? And see if you can connect them to that. Because sometimes they come in for the services, but they can't get the services because you don't have the information. So I think one thing that we lack in the elders is education.
Yeah, I just want to hold on for 1 second. Dwight. I like the mic now. I want to, and these perspectives are really good, right? But I definitely want to hear from other people in the bag. Joseph.
Joseph spoke earlier. You miss Joseph?
Joseph going. I want
to
to know, and Red too. I want to know exactly what Stanley was just talking about. What is it? Because that's the reason why we're here, right? What is it that y'all want? What are the needs that y'all have? As we're not going to use the word elders. I saw the word esteemed before somewhere.
I like that.
So we'll say esteemed, esteemed members.
Yeah, we can use elders, you know why? Because that's an honorary.
That's an
position.
honorary
We wouldn't
title
call people didn't
of respect.
Right.
Especially,
I
especially
like
from
that too.
our, the reason why I say
Yeah.
that, especially from our this community, because we came out in the 80s when, guess what? AIDS got
AIDS,
and
heroin,
crack cocaine. So to be a survivor of that, I wear it with honor.
Absolutely.
Especially when you
Survive.
have like your story.
Right, I respect that. I respect
Call me
that.
old.
I would like to hear a little bit more from Joseph and Red and Nicole as well. And you too, Donald.